Ole Olson Gymnasium in Rice Lake is the place for WIAA Division II playoff basketball tonight as the Rice Lake Warriors host the Lakeland Union Thunderbirds. James Weingart, Daniel Broker with you from our broadcast location here tonight. And we have what looks to be a pretty decent ball game here tonight between the number 7 seed and the number 9 seed, correct?
10 seed.
10 seed, yep, like I said, 10. Yep. And Daniel, we've got a matchup here between a Rice Lake team that finished 14-9 and Lakeland, which is at 10-14.
Yeah, well, first of all, I do want to point out, I don't think you quite understand how much pain this gives me to go back over to the color side and have to give up the play-by-play, but I'm more than happy to hand it over to you.
I am sure you'll get over it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, but anyways, no, with what you said about the good matchup, I do think this is something maybe slightly misleading. Of course, playoff basketball at the Ole Olson Gymnasium, always a great time, but the thing a lot of people familiar with March Madness thinks about, the 7 versus 10 matchup is one of the most competitive in the bracket. Now, it's misleading here because in this part of the bracket in the WIAA boys basketball playoffs, we're looking at only 11 teams instead of the 16 in the March Madness parts of the bracket. So I'd say this matchup is maybe a little more of kind of a 4 versus 13 in terms of the March Madness equivalent. I think Rice Lake is coming in here probably the favorite. The spread probably about 15 or 20 so points, just based on looking at who some of these teams they've played, strength of schedule. I know I talked a little bit about the ranking system last time out, but again, one of the big questions is which Rice Lake team are we going to get tonight? I think that's going to be important. Rice Lake also, this is the last game, more than likely, unless Ashland wins out, which would take a lot of things to go right. But this is, for the seniors here, most likely their last home game at the Ole Olson Gymnasium. So we're certainly going to see that on display. Rice Lake having a much older, more experienced lineup than Lakeland putting out there tonight. But again, it's the magic of March, as WIA streaming service is called. Anything can happen here, and regardless of how this game ends, we know we're in for a treat.
And, of course, we were bumped up an hour tonight to 6 o'clock rather than 7 o'clock due to the pending snowpocalypse, which is supposedly coming with near blizzard conditions. So do take it easy if you're out and about. So it's the number 7 seed Rice Lake, and they are coming in off of a loss to Hudson, 60-52. They've gone back and forth, wins and losses over the last week or so. Lost to Hudson, beat Osceola, lost to River Falls, beat Baldwin Woodville, lost to Eau Claire Memorial. And on the Lakeland Union side, they finished at 4-8 in the Great Northern Conference and 10-14 overall. And they were 3-2 in their last 5 games, losing to Mosinee, beating Newman Catholic, beat Shawano, lost to Rhinelander, who won their conference, and beat Tomahawk, just like everybody beat Chippewa Falls in the Big Rivers Conference. Well, just about everybody did.
Yeah, so I guess looking at how these teams are coming in here, I'd say Rice Lake was much more hit or miss. For Lakeland most of the season, they were pretty much win a game, lose a game. They're 10-14 right now. They did have a 4-game losing streak that went through a lot of the middle to the end of January. Other than that, again, they were fairly consistent, winning a game, losing a game. Rice Lake, of course, that's been a big story. We've talked a lot about seeing almost what many times felt like 2 separate teams that were going out there here at the Ole Olson Gymnasium. But I do think that game against Hudson, again, speaking of stuff that's misleading, I think Rice Lake played a pretty good game. I think we have to be realistic. That was the last Division I team Rice Lake is going to play for this season in their quest to go as far as they can in the playoffs. And they did pretty well. There was a lot of things they did right, especially in the second half. They really struggled in the first half. It was a good second half, though. A lot of things, those last couple of games, especially after the rankings released, it's about what can you learn for the playoffs and not always about how does the game end.
And tonight, this is going to be an interesting matchup. You mentioned a few moments ago that it's really going to depend on which Rice Lake team shows up. Consistency has not exactly been their forte this year. And Lakeland Union, they have had, a decent go of it. They've finished in a very tough Great Northern Conference this year, and so it'll be interesting to see how things play out here tonight. A little bit of a smaller crowd than what we saw the other night against with the girls against Menominee, and the night before against Merrill. Of course, we're starting an hour earlier, and we've got weather coming up here. So we are going to pause to honor America, the singing of the national anthem coming up here for us in just a moment, and then we'll get the starting lineups and get this one underway. You're watching high school boys basketball, the Division II playoffs on Rice Lake Community Media. Rick Miller with our national anthem to start things off. And Daniel, while the introductions of the players are going on out on the floor, how about you take us through your broker breakout players?
Yeah, well, I do want to talk about them a lot. I think for Rice Lake, it's not necessarily one. I talked a little bit about the experience. This Lakeland Union team only has 2 seniors on the whole lineup. Neither of them are in the top 2 for scoring. So I think Rice Lake, all of their seniors are, of course, going to bring it and have something to play for. But I am saying for my broker breakout player, understanding how many rebounds Lakeland has a tendency to give up and seeing what we saw last game from him, I think it's going to be a junior, Will Swenson, who's going to have himself a really good game here tonight. Meanwhile, on the other side for Lakeland, I'm going Alton Jackson again. He is one of those seniors, and he is averaging about 6.3 points a game. There's a lot of data on Wispo. It's kind of tough to find for Lakeland. But I do kind of get the impression that he's going to be one of those guys who are going to play good, who are going to play all around. He's maybe not going to get 20, 25, 30 points a night, as Zach Orr is prone to do sometimes. But he's going to make those tough plays when it matters. And in the postseason, a lot of times, that is what matters.
So the starters for Lakeland Union tonight, Benny Goller, Evan Zock, Noah Bruckner, Jackson Burnett, and Alton Jackson. Evan Zock, the team's leading scorer at 14.6 points per game. And for Rice Lake, it's Evan Strand, Zach Orr, Will Swenson, Pierce Hostreiter, and Will Johnson. Zach Orr leading the Warriors at 15 points per game. And we are ready to go for boys basketball here tonight from Olson Gymnasium in Rice Lake. James Weingart, Daniel Broker, and our crew with you from our broadcast location high above the gym floor. And the opening tip won by the Warriors, and off we go. It's Evan Strand who hands it to Zach Orr.
It's going to be interesting to see how this Rice Lake offense runs. The last couple of games, they haven't gotten into paint a whole lot.
And Orr takes an immediate 3 and hits it, 3-0 Warriors.
And another notable thing that they did fairly well against Hudson, 43% from behind the arc. It'll be interesting to watch that, but also they went stagnant along the perimeter a lot. For Lakeland, meanwhile, meanwhile, trying to show that maturity in their game tonight.
Jumper blocked from Noah Bruckner. Will Swenson got his paw in the way of it, and that pass is intercepted by from Orr. Coming back the other way, the no-footer is missed by Benny Goller, and the rebound to Will Johnson, and then a foul called on the rebound. Foul against number 0, Benny Goller, 6.6 points per game. That's his first, team first.
And it's better, especially for the road team, to make those mistakes early here. The Ole Olsen Gymnasium, maybe not as full as it's probably going to be around 7 or so, around the normal start time. But you got to quiet your emotions. You'd rather make those mistakes earlier than later in these playoff games. But there is a different atmosphere, and there are changes, especially mentally, that you have to make.
Bounce pass into the block for Swenson. Swenson lost a handle on it. Easy steal by Jackson Burnett. Burnett around Strand. Foul called. Basket counts. And it's going to be Jackson Burnett to the free throw line to try and convert a three-point play off the foul from Evan Strand, and that's his first.
And Lakeland, not necessarily a team that forces a lot of turnovers. Rice Lake, meanwhile, does turn the ball over a lot. So it's going to be really interesting to see who wins over that battle there. Free
throw is good, and Burnett, averaging 11.5 points per game, gives the Thunderbirds a tie at 3-3. 16:48 to go in the opening half. Hastreiter, and now it is Zach Orr out here to the corner for Strand. To Orr for another three. Got it! Saturday night before the girls' game against Menominee, he and Coach Orr were out on the floor practicing, and he was hitting threes from all around the perimeter. It was great to watch him practice.
Well, just more in general, just happy to see him out there again. He re-aggravated for, I think, about the second time that ankle injury. So Rice Lake very happy to have him out here tonight.
Evan Zock misses the layup for the Thunderbirds. 6-3 Rice Lake. 16-12 to go in the opening half as Orr almost threw it away again. Goller knocked it out of bounds, and it's going to stay with the Warriors over on the far sideline.
And we've seen, especially on that second Orr three, Rice Lake trying to penetrate into the post, opening up the whole court, the whole side of the court to get those points. But if they kick it around, if you can't hold on to it, you're not going to have those opportunities.
Strand with it near side wing. Orr, another three. That one's no good. Will Johnson had the rebound, but then Goller took it away from him. And Goller into the front court. Little over 2 minutes gone here in the first half. 6-3 Warriors. Goller, baseline, zips it into the lane, and then a reach-in foul called on the Warriors. And this is going to go against number 11, Will Swenson. That's his first and the team's second.
One of the other defensive things that's going to definitely be important to watch tonight is whether or not Rice Lake is really trying to jump those plays on defense. Occasionally, they get a little out of position, especially when it goes into post, and sometimes that leads to trouble for them.
Will Johnson knocked it out of bounds, and the ball stays with the Thunderbirds on the baseline with 15:34 to play in the first half. 6-3 our score. Warriors up by a triple. And Goller inbounds, tipped away by Hastreiter, and Evan Strand has it. Strand, Will Johnson with it on the wing, tipped away by Zock. Right into the hands of Will Swenson, though, 1-11. And now they'll come this way, and that pass intercepted. And back the other way, and this time they get the low layup from Noah Bruckner. 2 points for him, and it's 6-5. On the drive, we're going to get a foul called. And the first Lakeland Union foul, or the second Lakeland Union foul goes against Noah Bruckner. That's his first. And the second team foul as Sam Jevney comes in, and out goes Pierce Hastreiter.
Well, I think that much pressure from Lakeland early, it tends to be irritating to start, but certainly Rice Lake, understanding those extra pump fakes, it doesn't really take, it takes work, but it's not necessarily super difficult always to beat those over-aggressive defenses.
Zach Orr with it between the circles. Now to Jevney here on this near side. Skip pass to the other side. Will Johnson winds up for three. Halfway down, shot back out at him. Rebound comes down to Jackson Burnett for the Thunderbirds. Long pass ahead around traffic, and that's an easy block for Will Swenson. Evan Zock got too far underneath the basket. And now Orr's got it. He'll take a spot three and hit his third three of the game. 9-5 Warriors. And Zach Orr has all 9 of Rice Lake's points tonight. Friedley to Zach on the wing. Now Goller to this side. 3 on its way to answer. Too strong. Rebound out of bounds to Lakeland Union. Grant Paholke and Brooks Lenz in for the first time for their respective teams.
And that's something else we're going to be watching. Rice Lake setting up the press there. The more they do it, and the more that they try and really follow through on those presses, on that defense, the better they tend to do defensively.
Zach with a little pull-up jumper in the lane is knocked down, and it's now 9-7 with 14 minutes to play in this first half. Or to Swenson to Paholke on the left side. And now Swenson again. This time they'll give it to Evan Strand. Lenz comes out to challenge him. Or down to the corner. Strand fakes a throw one way and then keeps it himself. Puts a little shake and bake move on. Orr's got it. Paholke and now Jevney. Touch pass underneath for Evan Strand. And another 3, too strong that time for Orr. He's 3 out of 5 tonight, and we've got a traveling call in the backcourt as Benny Gollard couldn't keep his feet set, and a turnover way far away from the basket. And so the ball belongs back to Rice Lake with 13:24 to go in the first.
And those are the mistakes we might see some, especially in the postseason. Again, that younger team, not as much experience in these big games, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
Outside, Jevney for 3. Buries that one. Sam Jevney for 3, and he's got 3 points. And Rice Lake's dozen points have all come by way of the long ball tonight. 12-7 now with 13:07 to go.
And certainly that 3.
Friedley had the ball stolen away, and while Sam Jevney was laying on his back, Coach Orr calls timeout to save the possession. So timeout taken by Rice Lake. They've got 4 left, 13:02 to go in the first. Rice Lake 12 and Lakeland Union 7.
Well, as I was saying before, a very good hustle play. Again, I always try and make a point to applaud Sam Jevney on his effort, his physicality out there. But the big thing, that 3 by Jevney was more impressive, I'd say. Again, everybody likes watching those spot pull-up jumper 3s from Zach Orr. But from a system perspective, from a getting points perspective, it's really important. We saw the drive first, and I think that definitely helped out. Rice Lake would rather get those points off the drive and the kick as opposed to just running up the court and shooting the 3 straight away.
Clock runs with 13 minutes to go here in the first half. Warriors lead is 5, and number 5, Evan Strand, had it for a moment. Now Jevney with it. Grant Paholke. And now it is Strand once again. Try the other side. Jevney. Strand. He'll take a 3 from straight away. Off the iron, no good. Rebound tipped. Brilliant move there by Will Swenson. He tiptoed along the baseline, found a thigh of an opposing player, and just jammed it off of his thigh.
It looked like he was pretty close on the line there, but certainly something Rice Lake will take there. Again, the rebounding from Lakeland. They give up on average about 29 to opponents, about how much Rice Lake's averaging. So it'll be interesting to see how that boards battle plays out.
Or, oh boy, halfway down and came back out on him, and then a foul called on the rebound after Jackson Burnett claimed it. Foul goes against Pierce Hostreiter, who checked back into the game just a few moments ago, and that is his first, 3rd team foul. 12:26 left here in the first half. Warriors still leading 12-7. Lenz. And now Friedley into the front court as he's blanketed by Sam Jevney. Now a double team taken away by Will Johnson. Johnson will, oh, what a nifty pass there. Orr couldn't get it, and Jevney able to clean it up. And that's the first 2-point basket of the game tonight for the Warriors. It's now 14-7.
And what better way to exemplify the playoffs? It doesn't always have to be pretty, it just has to work.
And there's a steal by Orr on the other end, speaking of effective. Orr to Johnson. Paholke, Johnson's got it back. And that's going to be a steal by Bruckner. And Bruckner ahead of the pack. Left-handed layup is good. That's 4 points for him, and it's now 14-9. And we've seen that a few times already tonight, Daniel, that the Warrior passing is a little lax, we'll call it.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say necessarily that all of these passes are necessarily bad passes in themselves. I do think they should work and utilize more of those pump fakes, knowing Lakeland's going to try and jump them.
That was Will Johnson with the basket. 16-9, 11:05 to go here in the first half. Friedley into the front court. And now Alton Jackson.
So Rice Lake still pressing a little bit, but easing off, not as much as they did some, and not the double team as well.
Noah Bruckner driving toward the block. He gets fouled by Zach Orr, who picks up his fourth team foul. Strand and Swenson back in for Rice Lake. And Goller and Zock back in for the Thunderbirds. 10:52 to go before halftime. 16-9 Warriors in front. They have led since the opening bell here tonight, and that's a steal by Hastreiter to Jevny, and Hastreiter gets it back. 3 for Strand, short. And the rebound. Oh. Pierce went over there to try and chase down the rebound, and I think he's going to get called for a foul. He sure is. Kind of a little touchy ticky-tack foul over there, but a foul all the same.
Well, yeah, and I think tonight definitely this might be kind of fitting in with Rice Lake's decisions to choose threes. Not a whole lot of in the post, in the paint contact, but it's been, it's going to be a game that they're going to call a lot.
Sam Jevny with the steal, the swipe, and the score, and he's going to go to the free throw line to try and convert a three-point play. Foul called against number 5, Lincoln Friedley, his first and the third team foul. And Sam Jevny to try and convert a three-point play. He's got 7 points, well ahead of his season average of 3.3 points per game this season.
Averaging about 70% from line, but again with that play, all you ask for is consistency. And I think so far, again, that we've seen that. We've seen that they're going to call the game. It's not going to be one of those that turns into one of those football games, but it is, they're going to protect the offense a little here, and for both sides.
19-9 now after the made free throw from Sam Jevny, and we've got a timeout taken by Lakeland Union, a full timeout here. 10:18 to play in the first half. Warriors 19, Thunderbirds 9. And while we have a second, let me pass along congratulations, and we wish all the very best to the Rice Lake girls gymnastics team, who won at sectionals last weekend, and they're heading to state. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, a lot of very good scores there, having several individuals as well as the team going there. So a very good job for them. I do want to point out here before we leave this timeout, it's one of those things that doesn't always show up on the scoreboard right away. I've been very impressed with Rice Lake's defense, I think, more than their offense. They've been doing a lot of things right. Lakeland's a team that's kind of hit or miss when it comes to attacking the post. Rice Lake's been doing a pretty good job. They have Johnson, they have Swenson, doing a good job lurking in the post as well, but they've been doing what they've needed, forcing turnovers and forcing tough shots.
Evan Zock, turnaround jumper over Will Swenson, and Swenson is going to get charged with a foul here on Zock, which will send him to the free throw line. Swenson picks up his second foul, 6th team foul, and Zock to the free throw line. 14.6 points per game this season, has 2 tonight. And now 3. And that keeps the Thunderbirds perfect from the line. They're 2 for 2 tonight. 19-10 our score. For the Warriors right now, Will Johnson, Zach Orr, Evan Strand, Will Swenson, and Sam Jevny. As Zach hits both free throws, that gives him 4 in the lead, down to 8, 19-11.
It is interesting, though, Lakeland not pressing despite being, what I think we can agree, very aggressive on defense early. But they're not pressing. They don't want to turn this into a full court game.
And that's going to be a steal eventually by Zock. Little underhanded flip underneath, and in trouble. They finally pull it out of there and have to reset the offense. Zock with it, top of the arc. And now McQuaid has it. They'll bring it down to this side. Goller for 3, too strong. Weak side rebound is whacked out of bounds by Orr, and it stays on this end with Lakeland Union. Grant Paholke checking in for the Warriors. Out goes Will Swenson with his 2 fouls. 9:40 to play here in the first half. Warriors 19 and the Thunderbirds 11. Inbound play is knocked right back out by the quick hands of Zach Orr. And so now they'll set up on the other side of the lane.
I mean, again, defensively, I don't think Rice Lake's playing as fast as they do sometimes and as they did early. But I think what the moves they're making, I think, have been very effective tonight, regardless of. I mean, they haven't totally stifled this offense, but they've done a pretty good job, at least making them uncomfortable.
Zip pass out to the top of the arc from McQuaid, and now Goller has it. Bounce pass into Zock on the block. Comes over here to this side, and they'll bring it out to Burnett on the wing, and now out near half court. Alton Jackson with it, and now Zock to Burnett. McQuaid has it again. Jackson, Goller. Jackson winds up for 3, too strong, and Evan Strand trying to stretch his frame out to get the rebound, couldn't do it. Another 3, that's no good. Inside position by Will Johnson pulls it down, and here come the Warriors with 8:45 to play in the first half. Evan Strand with it. Now this side for Orr. Orr to the block through a triple team around the perimeter. Outside Jevney for 3. Yes, sir. Sam Jevney for his second 3 of the game. And he's got 11 already tonight, and it's 22-11 with 8:24 to go. Jackson Burnett coast to coast around the defense, and he scores. He's got 5, and it's 22-13 with 8:12 to play.
But again, we talked about it defensively, probably also offensively. This is a Lakeland team. They don't want to play a half-court set. This is a Rice Lake team, very athletic. Again, we talked about how this ties to their very excellent football team. So that's going to be something to watch.
Jevney no good on the shot, on the 3, and then Evan Strand there to clean it up. Evans got his first basket tonight, and it's 24-13 with 7:47 to play in the opening half.
And I think it goes kind of unappreciated sometimes. Strand averaging almost 5 rebounds per game.
Over to the other side, and that's going to be a foul called on the reach behind by Paholke. And so Grant will be charged with the foul. That's his first and the 7th team foul. So that will put the Lakeland Union Thunderbirds on the free throw line for a 1-and-1. And Noah Bruckner comes back in. Interesting observation about Noah. He is a solidly built young man. Holy cow.
I mean, yeah, he's only 5'11", but I mean
he's a stout 5'11".
Yes,
that I can assure you.
He's a big guy. They must have pretty good weight room over in Lakeland.
Jackson Burnett on the free throw line for a 1-and-1, knocks down the first one. Back comes Brooks Lenz as well. Out goes Zock for the Thunderbirds. Lakeland Union, by the way, is a high school in Minocqua, which is near Tomahawk, a little north of the Wausau-Merrill area, as Burnett knocks down his second free throw. He's 3 for 3 from the line and 7 points tonight. Rice Lake's lead is at 9, 24-15 with 7.5 minutes to play. Orr's got it for the Warriors. Down to the corner, a 3 on its way, and good for Evan Strand.
I can't tell if it's luck or skill yet or a little bit of both, but Rice Lake's 3 game has been a lot more excellent than we've normally come to see out of them the last few games.
6 threes already for the Warriors tonight, and that was Brooks Lenz finishing up a nifty play by the Thunderbirds. 27-17, approaching 7 minutes to go before halftime. And here's Orr. Back to the outside. Here's Will Johnson. He'll wind up for 3. That's a little strong. And the rebound is out of bounds, and Jackson Burnett wanted nothing to do with it as he just lets it sail across the sideline. Will Swenson in, out goes Will Johnson. Swenson wanted a low 5 from Will, and Will was having from Johnson, and he was having none of it, and so Will gave himself a low 5. Zip pass into the front court. Lenz has it. To the outside, Bruckner, spin move away from Paholke, and he'll head to the basket and score. He's got 6, and that gets him ahead of a season average of 5 points per game, 27-19, 6.5 minutes to go.
And especially anymore, you normally don't see teams go to the baseline, try and run from the baseline a whole lot. Lakeland does. We haven't really seen them shoot many threes today. So that, of course, it's going to be interesting to see how that works and if Rice Lake is going to use the baseline as an extra defender or if Lakeland is going to be able to succeed down there.
Much the same way they do in football, using the sideline as that extra defender.
Yeah, and I mean, Rice Lake also, again, we know the football prowess has the ability to do that.
Ball went out of bounds, I think, off the official and Grant Paholke. They'll say that Lakeland Union was the first to touch it, last to touch it, though, and so Pierce Hostreiter to inbound for Rice Lake comes in to Evan Strand, and boy, Evan almost made a blunder there as Zach Orr was standing in the backcourt, and if he'd have thrown it back to him, that would have been an over and back call. Paholke on the left wing, top of the arc, Strand for 3, short, rebound, Bruckner, and he's going to race out. Bruckner, coast to coast, went around Strand. Strand got wiped out, no call on a foul. And now we've got a wrestling match. We've got Paholke, Hostreiter. He gets wiped out by Lenz, and it's picked up again by the Warriors. And Coach Orr is pleading his case, and now a race to the other end. It's going to be Strand, and we've got a foul called there on Lakeland Union.
I mean, there's usually one or two that kind of break with the general calling of the game. I felt like that one might have been. There was a little bit of contact down there in that corner, but an excellent job for Rice Lake. Again, not panicking or kind of having one of his Rice Lake community media Kevin Orr moments. Wasn't able to call a timeout there, but a lot of grit there for Rice Lake to be able to play on to get it up the court.
5:13 to play before halftime. Warriors leading by 8. Baseline drive. A little skip pass got knocked down by the Lakeland Union defense, and now Bruckner's got it as he races ahead of Orr. A little push off there maybe as well, and Bruckner scores again. He's got 8, and the Warrior lead is down to 6, 27-21.
I mean, Rice Lake needs a solid possession here, not just scoring, but getting something really developing here.
Evan Strand draws a foul on Bruckner, and that is his second. And Strand heads to the free throw line for the first time tonight. He has 5 points and a 64.3% shooting average from the charity stripe. 4:49 to go before halftime. Left that one well short. Sam Jevney comes back in for the Warriors, and Jackson Burnett returns to the Thunderbird lineup. 27-21 Warriors.
I mean, not a bad start for Rice Lake. It's important for Evan Strand. Rice Lake trying to kind of transition back to playing in the paint. We haven't seen a whole lot of that. Hoping that they can kind of use a mixture of that perimeter and paint play throughout the rest of the first and the second.
Strand goes 1 for 2 from the line on that trip. As a team, they're 2 out of 3 from the free throw line tonight. Here's a pull-up jumper for McQuaid, and or Jackson, I should say, and that's a fine-looking shot there from him. And the lead down to 5 at 28-23 for Rice Lake, 4.5 to play. Strand into the lane, bumped, fadeaway jumper is going to be way short. Rebound is out of bounds, last touch by Sam Jevney. Benny Goller to inbound for the Thunderbirds. A little half-court pressure applied here by the Warriors, and then they back out of it. 28-23, Rice Lake in front by 5 whole points as Zock has it. And he'll get it back from Burnett. Spin move blocked by Will Swenson. And Burnett traveled.
Took a step there, trying to move over to his side a little bit. Too long for a single step there, but Rice Lake happy to get it back again. They want a good possession here. They have been letting this game maybe get a little closer than they would have wanted, hoping to widen this gap here, especially, as we've pointed out a few times, namely they want to get in the post, they want to get in the paint.
Will Swenson bowls over a couple of players, no call there. Goller on the other end around Strand, they tried to touch it back in while the ball was up on the rim. No call on the goaltending, and the shot was missed anyway, so it didn't matter. Or nice pass inside to Strand, who scores.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. Had a guy open on the side, chose not to, go to the post, getting off that screen, getting off that commotion. Those back cuts, right? Like that's how they get to the post most of the time.
Zock sprung free from a screen, and now back out to Jackson, who retreats back near half court. Approaching 3 minutes left in the first half. Warriors 30 and the Thunderbirds 23. Nice pass inside to Zock, and then Swenson comes over and challenges him. Lost a handle on it. Zock trips, and down he went as he hobbles across the lane. Goller with it now with 2:47 to go. Jackson bounced it off of his foot. Well, I thought it was his foot, but apparently it wasn't. It was one of the Warrior players' feet. And now Bruckner back in for the Thunderbirds, and out goes Brooks Lenz. Lenz, an easy player to recognize with his shock of blonde hair. Bounce pass into Zock as he gets around Swenson, and that one a little too easy there, as Zock has 6 points now and the lead back down to 5 at 30-25 with 2.5 to go.
And I think that's different in a lot of ways than the Big Rivers Conference. I think in this the Northern Conference, it is maybe more important kind of the system you run. In the Big Rivers, you have a lot of very athletic people who can drive, but here working the baseline.
3 for Johnson's no good. Rebound comes down to Burnett. 2:10 to play in the half, and the Thunderbirds looking to cut into a 5-point deficit. Goller, Jackson with it down in the corner as Jevney challenges him. A lot more physicality in the Big Rivers Conferences. The Great Northern, I think, has a lot more of that touch play.
Yeah, kind of that setup, maybe some more of, I guess, the what you'd consider kind of that NBA style.
And there's Benny Goller, for 3. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying we've seen some of that, the 3 right there, kind of that pull-up 3. I think Rice Lake's kind of bought into it too, but with Rice Lake's skill, I mean, that's just not the game that they play.
Evan Strand trying to get it to Will Johnson underneath, and that one, even Will at his extended frame, needed a step ladder in order to catch that one as it goes sailing out of bounds. The lead down to 2 now at 30-28 with a minute and a half to play before the break.
But, I mean, on that style of play, I do think what we've seen low tonight, I think we saw it against Somerset, some other games. I think Rice Lake slows down their offense, slows down their defense in some games against teams like this when they really don't need to.
Alton Jackson not able to hold on to that inside pass at the block. Takeaway by the Warriors as Zach Orr has it here on the wing with 1:10 to go before halftime. Evan Strand, now this side, Orr winds up for a 3 and hits his 4th 3 of this game. 33-28 Warriors. As we go under a minute to play before halftime, Bruckner's got it, and Bruckner traveled, faked one way, went back the other way, and he cannot believe the call. .54 seconds left, 33-28, Warriors leading by 5, and Orr will run the floor here with 50, 49, and 48 to play.
If Rice Lake moves fast enough, arguably they might have 2 possessions left.
How about another 3 for Zach Orr? 5 of them tonight. Wow, wait. 15 out of the 36 points for Orr. 34 seconds, 33, and 32. So what was a 2-point game a moment ago has now ballooned back out to 8. Bruckner to this side with 25 to play before halftime. And a jump stop, lean-in jumper around traffic is no good. Rebound comes down to Evan Strand with 17, 16, and 15 to go. Orr into the front court with 11, 10, 9 seconds left. Orr facing off against Bruckner. Orr to the outside. Strand for another 3. In and out, no good. Offensive rebound put back for Paholke at the buzzer. And that is the way the first half comes to an end. So the Warriors end on an 8-0 run. It was 30-28. Now here at the half, it's 38-28.
Yeah, I mean, not bad for Rice Lake. They let the game get a little close, but we saw a lot of the best of what we've liked about this new and improved Rice Lake basketball. We saw, of course, some aggressive rebounding. That's something we've maybe seen a little less of in this second part of the season. We saw some threes. We also saw some driving action. We saw that physical play from Grant Pahalke to fight down for that offensive rebound. I feel like there's been a few times that post when the shot goes up tonight has kind of been no man's land, and Rice Lake hasn't sent a whole lot of people to get those rebounds. Good job there right towards the end of that. I guess I'll give some of my thoughts for what I thought about the first half. I'll save my second half keys for 1 minute, but Zach Orr, I think he's been one of the biggest storylines of the night here for this Rice Lake. I wouldn't say this is the new style of their basketball, their offense tonight. It's almost a 3.0 style, and I really think Orr might want to consider lowering his number by 1, because we're seeing some John Tonje action out here tonight. He has 15 points, all off 3. He has looked very good. This is, when we've needed it, this is the scoring version of Zach Orr. For most of the season, we've seen kind of that Zach Orr that's been kind of more of a leader that doesn't always show up on the scorebook, always on the scoreboard. But here tonight, he's gotten that back. This is, again, most likely his last game as a Warrior here at the Ole Olsen Gymnasium, and getting to play here for his dad's team. That certainly means a lot, and he's showing that here on the scoreboard, having over a third of this team's points. I think also Rice Lake, it depended throughout the half how much it was. They did slow it down a little. The offense maybe weren't looking for as many cuts, even as they did against Hudson, weren't looking as much to attack. They were looking for that breakdown for Lakeland, get the shot up quick from the outside. Not a whole lot of action in the post for Rice Lake. There was a few times, of course, that last shot put up there by the junior Pahalke. Rice Lake missed a few rebounds, but again, another situation down the stretch. They got better about that. Rice Lake gave up a lot, I believe 19 offensive rebounds against Hudson in that last game. So trying to make sure that doesn't happen, that there's one shot, or worst case scenario, 2 shots, and you get the ball back. And that certainly at least takes a lot of pressure off of the defensive end of the ball. Rice Lake's fouls, I do think, towards the end, not as many. Early on, though, the first 8.5 minutes, they got the bonus for Lakeland. I do think that's something they're going to want to try and make sure that they control in the second half when foul trouble becomes more of a prominent concern if this game remains relatively close. For Lakeland, again, we saw early some of those jump passes. They kind of backed off a little towards the rest of that, about the second part of that first half here. And I think that's where Rice Lake able to maybe develop a little more comfortableness either in transition or in that half-court set without the jumps. Lakeland missed a few shots. They were kind of keeping Rice Lake out of the block, running to the baseline a lot. They were being able to succeed from that, to come from the baseline and go back in along the backboard. That's something Rice Lake really hasn't had to face a lot of course, making those moves in the post. Now I'll hand it back over to you.
Taking a look at our scoring summary from the first half, it was Grant Pahalke with 2 points. Sam Jevney had 11, Evan Strand with 8, Zach Orr 15, and Will Johnson with 2. The Warriors shot 2 out of 3 from the free throw line in the first half and scored 38 points. For Lakeland Union tonight, Benny Goller had 3, Evan Zock with 6, Noah Bruckner had 8, Brooks Lenz with 2, Jackson Burnett with 7, and Alton Jackson with 2 points. The Thunderbirds were 5 for 5 from the free throw line in that first half, and they scored 28 points. Coming out of the halftime, it will be Lakeland Union with the basketball, and the winner of this game will take on number 2 seed Rhinelander, and that will be on Friday night, March 7th. And so whoever wins this game is going to end up going to Rhinelander on Friday. And then the winner of that game will face either Ashland or New Richmond, and that game is going on tonight in New Richmond. Ashland, a number 11 seed, and New Richmond, a number 6 seed. Winner of that game is going to take on River Falls, and that game will be on Friday night, March 7th as well. And then either River Falls, Ashland, or New Richmond, and then Rice Lake, Lakeland, or Rhinelander. The winners will play in the sectional, which will be on March 8th, the following night. And then the sectional final will end up in Ashland. on the 13th, Thursday the 13th.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I wanted to talk a little bit about some of these other games that we have going on tonight. Namely, I believe there's that Antigo-Mill game in this part of the bracket. There is a Division I, big Division I game as well. I believe Chippewa Falls is going to be playing. So instead, I'm going to talk a little. I didn't do the whole bracket. I don't have enough knowledge about Grafton and Port Washington. I did a little bit of my March Madness pick'ems here. I have first round. I have Antigo beating up Mill here tonight. I have New Richmond over Ashland. I do have Rice Lake winning this game. I stand behind that to this point. For the second round, I have Wausau East defeating Antigo. Menominee over Medford. New Richmond pulling off the upset over River Falls. Rice Lake over Rhinelander. Then Wausau East over Menominee. Rice Lake over New Richmond. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Now for the keys to the game, I'm sure what you actually wanted to hear from me when you handed it over. I think in the second half, Lakeland, we didn't see a whole lot of threes out of them so far. It's going to be interesting to see if they utilized a whole lot. At least to my knowledge, I think they only have 1 3 so far. We don't have the 3 track. Yeah, they only have 1 3 tonight. Haven't really shot a few. I don't think they've shot them at a really high percentage. If they can get them going again, kind of like Rice Lake hitting threes, it would be great. It's not essential in order to win this game. I think they need to go back to skipping those passes. They moved away. Rice Lake went on that big run. I think that's definitely something that needs to be changed. And I think it could really help their defense throw Rice Lake. And their offense started to kind of get a little bit into a groove there. I think Lakeland needs to drive and move around a little more, trying to set up quicker there and really make those moves into the post. While in the post, at the block, extra move, trying to get Johnson or Swenson or whoever else might end up down there from extra passes off balance. I think they need to run coast to coast. They did it a few times after big scores by Rice Lake. Just trying to beat them after, especially plays where it forced Rice Lake to move around a lot. They have their offense set up all over the place, trying to run coast to coast. They did it a few times, got points off of it. And again, Zachary has caught fire. I think Lakeland needs to at least slow him down, if not completely stop him. Rice Lake, meanwhile, shutting down the baseline, using it as that defender, or preventing Lakeland from getting along it altogether. Rice Lake also needs to run those pump fakes, maybe on the passes. Maybe not as much of a big deal if Lakeland doesn't try and jump those passes as much. Rice Lake needs to play in the paint, even if they don't get those shots up from the paint, even if they don't get those shots up from the block. Getting the ball into the post and kicking it back for a 3 usually does more for your system, does more for the offense than if you just run down the court and take a spot 3. Not saying that here in the playoffs we don't love a spot 3, but in the long run, that does tend to have a little bit of an effect. So it is going to be interesting to watch how Rice Lake continues to attack this Lakeland defense.
This is a very different output than what Zach had against Hudson the other night, where he had a grand total of 3 points for that entire game. He's got 5 times as many already here tonight.
I think that's another number that might be a little misleading, or did leave relatively early. It was at some point in the first half, but even in the time he was out there, he didn't look necessarily like prime Zach Hoare. And I think that's certainly something that we've seen from some changes to tonight. We've seen those threes go up. Another big part of his game is the driving. Again, we haven't seen a whole lot of that setting up here tonight. Maybe in the second half, but yeah, I mean he's certainly showing a lot of development, a lot of poise, a lot of experience in these situations here in this first round of the playoffs.
38-28, our halftime score. The Rice Lake Warriors leading by 10 over the Lakeland Union Thunderbirds. And again, we are very appreciative of the fact that you've joined us an hour earlier tonight than what we were scheduled to be on at 7 o'clock due to getting ahead of the weather. And assistant coach Schradel trying to give Swenson a little pep talk there as they walk back over toward the huddle just as we wrap up halftime. So 5 different players scoring for Rice Lake there in the first half. 6 for Lakeland Union. And we are ready to go for the second half. Warriors in front by 10 points. And again, the winner to play Rhinelander on Friday night.
A big game, regardless of who wins this one. Rhinelander, of course, that should be a tough task. Despite losing them, I think like 30 or 40 points. First time they played them, Lakeland. The second time, then getting within 5, and Rice Lake certainly, they believe that they can go into that game. They can go into Hodag country, and they can win that one. But again, first priority, of course, here, and we still have 18 minutes of this one.
Let's take care of business here first, and then we'll go see what the Hodags have to offer
certainly.
on Friday. All right, here we go, and it is Thunderbirds ball to start the second half. Evan Zock with it as he drives in, lost the handle on it, picks it back up. And now over to this side, Goller. And that goes off the paw of Burnett, who saves it at half court. And Burnett over Swenson, that's no good. That was a little 11-on-11 crime there as 11 Jackson Burnett bumped into Will Swenson's chest, number 11 for Rice Lake.
And I think you see it sometimes in this crescendo, that first possession certainly showing maybe a little bit faster pace, both on offense and defense, for both these teams here in a second.
Will Johnson had his pocket picked by Evan Zock. Johnson blankets him, and then on the cutoff, Zach Orr is charged with a foul, and that is his second and the first team foul here in the second half. Coach Orr pleading his case to the official on this near side. And the official says, yep, we'll watch it. Bruckner to Jackson. And now Goller. Bruckner's got it back on the wing. Pull up, or down to the corner. 3 on its way. Front iron no good. Rebound put back good for Bruckner. Comes flying in from the near side on the short side. 38-30, 16:50 to go in the ballgame. Orr into the front court, hands it to Evan Strand, and now Swenson. Orr's got it. Orr with 15 points, all by way of 3. No-look pass underneath to Hastreiter, who scores for the first time tonight, and it's 40-30.
And when we talk about Rice Lake getting in the post, I think that is one of the best examples. That play, that general ideal, that is what we're talking about. That's what we want to see.
Zock around Swenson, who gets the block, and then Zock as I don't know what the official called there. It looked like a travel, and then he changed it to a jump ball. And so one way or the other, it's going to be Rice Lake ball, and they'll call it off the alternating possession. So 40-30 our score. Rice Lake in front by 10 with 16:12 to play in the second half. Orr into the front court. Gets a pick from Swenson. Goes down to the corner and right through the hands of Swenson. Turnover by Rice Lake, and back come the Thunderbirds. Into the lane around traffic. That shot no good as Jackson Burnett goes tumbling into the wall. Looked like Will Swenson may have gotten a hand on his shoulder. Will Johnson, and now they'll come to the near side wing for Orr. Hastreiter all by himself on the other side. Strand for 3, short. Rebound tipped, and this is going to belong to Rice Lake.
Again, having to settle for the 3 there, but I mean, it wasn't necessarily as detrimental as sometimes seeing the open man away there. Swenson locked up down low. It's been interesting. I think Swenson is maybe helping more than just the points showed, especially taking pressure off some of these guards who live around the perimeter.
How about a 3 for Orr for another one? That's 6 of them tonight. 18 for Zach Orr, 43-30. 15:15 to play in the ballgame. Bruckner thought about a drive and then stopped. Jackson has it. They'll go back to the other side on the wing, and that is Jackson Burnett. They'll try this side. Bruckner thought about a 3, but Will Johnson stares at him and says, I dare you. Bruckner try a baseline drive, overlaid it. Rebound comes down to Will Swenson. And now Will with a head of steam. Will coast to coast, and a foul called on the drive. Foul against number 1, Evan Zock. That's his first. And the first team foul against the Thunderbirds here in the second half.
I mean, Rice Lake coming to a conclusion. I mean, if Lakeland wants to run coast to coast, Rice Lake will try it too.
Or inbounds, Zock knocks it out, trying to get it into Swenson. 14:47 to play in the second half. They'll lob it into Evan Strand out in the half-court circle this time. Hastreiter, and now Swenson has it. They'll try this side again. Hastreiter, Strand, and Pierce. Go back to Strand on the other side. Strand, baseline drive cut off there. We'll go back to the outside, and that's going to be a pass intercepted by Swenson. Oh, boy. Noah Bruckner going up for a layup, he just lost the handle on it and fumbled it out of bounds. He saw Will Swenson coming down the middle of the floor defensively.
Well, I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen there. It didn't seem great. Swenson pretty much dunked on the defensive basket after Bruckner lost it, but it must have been out before that. Thankfully, no goaltending, but
Zach Orr has it for the Warriors. Come to this side for Strand. Hastreiter standing all by his lonesome over in the corner on the other side. I just watched the replay on a bit of a delay on our broadcast, and Bruckner just simply lost a handle on it when he went up. He just bounced it right off of his hip, and it went out of bounds.
And I mean, I think that too. He was anticipating the contact, which I think came a lot later than he expected after he lost the ball.
Alton Jackson being bothered by Hastreiter. That pass inside bounced off of Zock's hands and right into the waiting grip of Will Swenson. Swenson's got it back, and now it's going to be Strand. 13:10 to play in the game. Warriors in front by 13 at 43-30. Will Johnson over there. Strand, he'll take a three, and a little too strong. Rebound to Bruckner. Bruckner 2-on-4 back the other way. Bruckner goes coast to coast. Foul called. Basket counts. And Bruckner to the free throw line to try and convert a three-point play. Warrior foul, I think, is going to be Will Johnson. It is. And that's Will's first and the second team foul. And Bruckner to the free throw line for the first time tonight. 5-point season point total average. He has a dozen so far tonight. And Sam Jevney and Grant Paholke in.
And with what you noted about that overperformance for Bruckner in the points per game, I think that is something we're going to see not just from him, but from a lot of seniors. Again, having that experience, also having that motivation once the playoffs comes around.
Free throw no good, and the rebound comes down to Paholke, and he gives it to Sam Jevney. 12:50 to play in the ball game. Warriors 43, Thunderbirds 32. Jevney to Paholke, standing here on the near wing. And it's going to be Jevney, and now Orr with a baseline drive, and that was intended for Paholke. I don't know as if he wasn't ready for it, just not looking for it, but it sailed right past his head into the scorer's table down there.
I mean, right idea there to kick it back out. I think if you'd maybe thrown a little lower, he whipped it there pretty quick, a little high.
Would have bumped him in the nose.
Yeah, I mean, but Paholke, a pretty good three-point shooter. I think it was the right idea there.
Brooks lands standing by himself in the lane, able to get the little bunny jumper, and a timeout taken by the Lakeland Union Thunderbirds. 43-34, Rice Lake in front with 12:23 to play, and that is the second timeout taken by the Thunderbirds, and they have 3 left. Warriors have 4 left. And that's where we're at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's a 9-point game, but I don't think Lakeland just has to come back from these 9 points. I also think momentum, Rice Lake has kind of controlled this game. They haven't really had a really firm grasp on it, but they've been able to kind of run whatever they've wanted to run at their speed, to run the type of game that they want. I feel like they maybe haven't driven in the post as much. I think that could really swing that control pendulum to these guys. But certainly, I think if Lakeland wants to come back from this deficit, it's not simply the 3 3-pointers or a good run. I think it is they're first going to have to start by changing this momentum, and I think this is a possession. If they can get Rice Lake to stall out, I know Bruckner and Zock have been kind of the big ones, keeping these guys on the perimeter. That's a big deal.
Strand for three is no good. Lenz can't control the rebound before it goes out of bounds, so it'll stay with Rice Lake on the baseline with 12:06 to go.
And I talked a lot, especially in the playoffs, with that experience factor. I don't think we've seen it a whole lot. There has been, I know, with Lenz, with a couple of these other players, just some of those small mistakes that do, I mean, especially on the scoreboard, get amplified here in the postseason.
Or little running layup is no good. Lenz has the rebound for the Thunderbirds, and he will outlet. And now Zock ahead of the pack, back on the other end. Baseline drive, down he goes, and Swenson's going to get charged with a foul as he wiped out Evan Zock on the baseline.
I mean, a couple of possessions for Rice Lake. Again, they didn't score. They picked up a foul on the other end. But again, that kind of that right idea, that doing what needs to be done. Good job by Ori driving. He had I don't want to say open, but he had a relatively open lane there. It collapsed at the end. He still had contested shot. And then down here, forcing them like literally to the baseline with no space to run.
Lenz gets the inbounds pass. Will Johnson comes over to challenge him and rejects it right back in his face. Rice Lake has the ball with 11:34 to go in the game. Nice pass inside to Will Johnson, and he scores 4 points for Will, and it's now 45-34 with 11:25 to go.
For Rice Lake in the post, especially getting people open, it's not always your old school screen. Sometimes it's just creating chaos. It's those fake screens. It's having a lot of offensive players there, getting the defense a little confused down there.
Burnett slow to get up. And the pass out here to the near side, Lincoln Friedley, baseline drive around Jevney, and he got his arm in the way of the pass. Will Johnson cleans up the loose ball, and now Zach Orr has it as we tick under 11 minutes to go. Baseline drive, Paholke, nice pass across, jumper blocked, but a foul called. Shot taken by Evan Strand, and Brooks Lenz comes over and whacks him on the arm, and that's going to be Brooks's first foul, and Evan Strand to the free throw line for two. Evan 1 for 2 from the line tonight with 8 points. Warriors 2 out of 3 from the free throw line in the first half, and now 3 out of 4 for the game as Strand knocks that first free throw down, and it gives him 8 on the night, make it 9 on the night.
We've only seen 1 3 out of him. He is known maybe a little more as a sharpshooter, so as we progress, especially for Rice Lake, starts to have more 3 opportunities. Be interesting to see how he's able to get involved with one of the bigger strengths of his game alongside crashing the glass. He's done that well tonight.
Strand hits both of them. He's got 10 points on the evening. Here's a 3 on its way too strong. Rebound on the weak side. Lenz tips it right into the hands of Grant Paholke. 10:36 to go in the ballgame. Warriors leading by 13. Strand to Orr. Thought about the 3, pulls it down, goes around Bruckner. Shot off balance, no good. Rebound to clean up is Grant Paholke, and he's got 4 points tonight. Warriors have their largest lead of the night now at 15, 49-34.
And I don't think it's just the lead. Rice Lake is getting this, and I was just effectively going to say that. Rice Lake getting this Thunderbird team to pass on a lot of the mid-range jumpers they've been taking. Rice Lake being able to drive. There was a lot of things crumbling. I think that is important for Jacob Jervinsavu to take that time out there, slow it down, talk to your players, kind of fresh start when you get out of this timeout. I think that was definitely time that was going really well for Rice Lake, even more than the score. I do think that was kind of Rice Lake did more than just prevent the momentum going to Lakeland. I think Rice Lake continued to build that. It'll be interesting to see how how Lakeland reacts to this after this timeout, how they work to counteract that.
It probably is a good idea that they took the timeout here. You've now in a deficit of 15 points. You definitely don't want this one to get away any further than it already is. You still have 2 timeouts left. You still have plenty of time, 10 minutes and 14 seconds. But time is finite at this point, and You're already down by 15. You certainly don't want to get down too much further with only 10 minutes left.
Well, I usually kind of subscribe to the opposite philosophy with timeouts as both of these coaches. I usually like to try and save mine when it gets particularly close towards the end. But it is interesting, again, 10 minutes, 2 timeouts. I'm sure Jervin Savu doesn't want to use any timeouts next couple of minutes. That's Rice Lake's big chance to put this game out of reach.
Zach's shot is off the front iron, and the rebound comes down to Rice Lake. Coming up on 10 minutes to go in the ball game, Warriors 49 and the Thunderbirds 34. Evan Strand has it for the Warriors, near side. How about Orr for another one, and he's got it. 21 all by way of threes for Zach Orr tonight, and the lead out to 18, 52-34, 9:43 to go. Baseline drive, Zach, and a tough shot. And Evans got another basket. He's got 8, and it's 52-36, 9:30 to play. Orr had 5 threes in the first half to match a couple more here in the second half. 21 tonight. Here's a drive from Strand. He got Zach off his feet, delayed, able to put it back up and in anyway. 12 for Evan tonight, 54-36 with 9:10 left.
And to elaborate, right after timeout, I think before 6-7 minutes, I don't think we're going to see any timeouts regardless of how this goes over.
Alton Jackson able to get behind the defense, and it's now 54-38, and we're under 9 to play. Orr stops, Jevney in the lane, stops through a triple team. We've got a reach-in foul called. I think based on his reaction, Noah Bruckner's going to be the guilty party, and he is, and that's his third. He put his hands upside down on his hips and kind of bent over, barking to himself. 8:49 to play. Warriors 54 and Lakeland Union 38. Winner to play Rhinelander on Friday. Strand inbound to Orr. Little dish pass inside. And it's Will Johnson, couldn't finish it up. Swenson puts it back. That's no good. Strand's got it. He's going to give Will another chance. Foul called, and the basket counts. As Will Swenson goes to the line to try and convert a three-point play. Foul against 0, Benny Goller. That's his second. And Swenson on the free throw line. Believe it or not, that's Will's first basket tonight, and he's got 2 points. Admittedly, he's been fighting an ankle injury or an Achilles injury earlier this season, and so he's been used kind of sparingly here in the late stages of the season, and we've got a wave off of the free throw because somebody jumped in the lane too early for Rice Lake. .38 to play, second half. Rice Lake leading 56-38 over Lakeland Union. Now full court pressure being applied by the Warriors. 2-on-1 back into the end. Zach puts the shot up, no good. He draws a foul, and he's heading to the line for 2 on the Will Johnson foul, and that is Will's second. Evan Zach to the free throw line for 2 free throws. He's 2 for 2 tonight with 8 points.
Again, normally averaging about 15 points a game, so he is well below that as he hits first. But he's one of the juniors on this team. So again, I think we have, even more so maybe than we expected, we've seen these seniors really try and take control of this.
So he makes the first one clean and throws an air ball up on the second free throw.
Well, I mean, I guess technically the second one was clean. The problem is it didn't go. It didn't go through the rim, so it didn't quite count. But yeah, I mean,
didn't go through, didn't hit anything.
Yeah, I think that's another situation though, like I was talking about.
There's a nice looking pass from Orr to Swenson, who scores, and Will's got 4 points now, and the lead out to 19, 58-39, with 8:10 to go. Bruckner's got it left wing, and now Burnett. Here's a long distance three, and that's the second three-pointer of the night. That one coming off the hands of Alton Jackson, and he's got 5.5, 7 in the game, 58-42. And they're going to need a lot more of those to get back into this one as Orr traveled. A very, very late call there as Orr stumbles through the defense. And now we've got Evan Strand coming in and Sam Jevney going out. 7:49 to play in the game. Rice Lake leading 58-42.
It's interesting here too. Rice Lake really pressing up here as they're scoring more, keeping that pressure on not just offensively, but also on the defensive end.
Noah Bruckner facing off against Will Johnson. Nice touch pass back to the outside. Another three for Alton. That's no good. Rebound on the weak side to Will Swenson, and we've got a foul called on Bruckner on a push on Zach Orr, and Bruckner not happy with that call because that is foul number 4 on him. So Bruckner comes out. Brooks Lenz returns to the lineup.
I mean, not an ideal situation down the stretch for Lakeland. Again, we talked about kind of their timeout shortage. We've seen that kind of play out. Now being without Bruckner, who has played a pretty big role, even if not necessarily always on the scoreboard, played a big role tonight. So they're going to have to move fast. That's something. It's going to take a lot of threes. It's going to take a lot of quick possessions.
Pierce Hastreiter has it. Now Strand straight away. Hastreiter gets it back as we fast approach the 7-minute mark. Hastreiter into the lane, trying to dish it down to the block. Hastreiter somehow got a handle on it again, and now a timeout called by Coach Orr to prevent a 3-second call. 6:57 to go. Rice Lake 58, Lakeland Union 42.
And I think barring the outlier in this last stretch, I'd say this is another situation where it's like had the momentum, I'm sure, or called that timeout very reluctantly, knowing what they'd been able to achieve, not wanting to really to put the brakes on that. Didn't want to create a momentum swing for Lakeland, so that's kind of why he called it here. But again, I think Rice Lake didn't gain. I think they have 2 more points, 2 more point advantage than the last time we had a timeout. But again, I think momentum-wise, they were able to attack the post, even if they didn't score every time. Just having that presence, getting shots up, getting shots that are, even if they're contested, being able to get the ball in the post. That is having an effect on Lakeland. I think they were playing out on the 3. There was that hit by Alton Jackson, but that's been about it for Lakeland since then. They haven't been able to get those mid-range that they shot early, haven't been able to get to the post, and Rice Lake is putting them in the coffin on the baseline. And that's, I think we're starting to see Rice Lake put a lot of pieces together again. It's not always going to result in a 30-point lead right away. But it's certainly helping Rice Lake being able to feel not complacent, but a little more comfortable about this game with under 7 minutes.
On the inbounds, Will Johnson to Swenson to Orr for 3, and that's a rare miss. And Will Swenson just ripped it out of the hands of the defense, and now Will Johnson's got it. Zip pass underneath, and Hastreiter almost traveled. Lost a handle on it, finally throws it out, and it's going to be a 3-second call against Rice Lake.
Well, it wasn't the prettiest possession for Rice Lake. That was probably an outlier there. They were probably going to get hit with something at some point. I see why they could see it was travel, but the 3-second violation was, of course, a problem. Understanding the ball might come loose at some point.
A pullback 3 is good for Alton Jackson. That's 2 in a row for him. And it's 58-45 with 6:20 to go. Rice Lake in front by 13.
Well, kind of surprised they didn't try and do that a little sooner if Jackson's the sharpshooter launching these from so far out. But certainly that's not going to hurt Lakeland's quest to get back in this game.
Tried to get it to Will Johnson from Orr, and Will not able to hold on to it. Foul called on the reach-in, and it's going to go against 23, Pierce Hastreiter, and that's Pierce's 3rd foul. 5th team foul, both teams with 5. 6:03 to go, Warriors leading 58-45. Out to the outside, Alton has it. Zock with it now, and Jackson Burnett to this side. Jackson, now a 3, and that's good for Benny Goller. His 2nd 3-pointer tonight, and the lead down to 10. That's a 9-0 run for the Thunderbirds.
I think Rice Lake on offense still doing relatively well, so Lakeland really needs kind of a big takeaway, big possession here.
Will Johnson with the three, that's no good. Or for a three, and that's good. 5 in the first half, 3 here in the second half, 24 for him tonight, and it's 61-48, and that puts an end to that momentum run.
We had that big 30-point game, I believe, against Osceola, looking to heat up when it matters late in the season here.
Here's a baseline drive, and that's good for Jackson Burnett. His first basket here in the second half, 61-50, 5 minutes even to play in the ballgame.
Lakeland making some progress here, keeping their heads above water. Rice Lake, though, again, don't have to be perfect, don't even have to be better, just have to be good.
How about perfect? That's 9 3-pointers tonight for Zach Orr, 27 points. Holy cow. 3 to answer. That's an air ball. And the rebound tracked down by Goller to Zock. And a pull-up jumper from the free throw line, in and out, and then back in again for Jackson Burnett. He's got 11, the lead to a dozen, 64-52, 4:25 left. Will Johnson, and now 3 for Strand, and that's good. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4. 13 threes tonight for the Warriors. Here's a 3 on the other end. That's no good. Swenson has the rebound. Back to a 15-point difference for Rice Lake. 67-42 with 4 minutes to play. Orr to the outside for Swenson. Swenson a drive. What a little nifty move there. Swenson, little up and under for 6 points for him tonight, and the lead to 17, 69-52.
Well, I mean, normally for Rice Lake, it's been, if your offense is not going to be great, go to the defense. Rice Lake's defense at times has faltered, so they've turned to the offense tonight.
That was Goller for 3. Lenz knocks it out on the rebound. And so Lenz comes out. Bruckner comes back in with his 4 fouls. 3:33 to play in the game. Rice Lake 69 and Lakeland Union 52.
Rice Lake here, one good possession or one kind of long possession here. They're one away from effectively sealing this up or putting themselves in a very comfortable situation.
Swenson, he'll head to the lane. Back to the outside. Orr for his 10th three.
Why
yes!
not?
30 points, all by way of threes for Zach Orr tonight, 72-52. A clinic.
You couldn't have asked for anything better.
A 3 trying to bank it in, no good. Bruckner's got the rebound. Goller for a 3 from the outside. That's no good either. And the rebound to Evan Strand. 14 threes tonight for the Warriors. Evan Strand's got it. A little dish underneath. Hastreiter scores. And Pierce has 4 points, 74-52. And this one's tipped in the air, steal by Hastreiter. Here is Oregon. Bruckner trying to sneak up on him to steal the ball, and the timeout called by Rice Lake. Bjorn Helsted will come in for the Warriors. 2:31 to go. Warriors 74 and the Thunderbirds 52. This is unbelievable. I haven't seen a shooting performance like this in a long, long time.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Orr is going to take a lot of spotlight, and rightfully should. I mean, he has had an astonishing game here tonight. These are the ones that, what happens in the NBA, they show up on Sports Center at night. But I think the whole team for Rice Lake, they've got, especially in the second, especially down the last few minutes, have been getting good shots up. They've been getting the threes up. They've gotten in the post a few times. It's been pretty good. And again, nothing's impossible, but Rice Lake with 2.5 minutes, especially Orr sending in a couple of his, if not most of his, well, I think pretty much all of his far end of the bench here. Rice Lake effectively considering it a done deal. And the second half, again, Rice Lake in the second half, there's been times that they've struggled. There has been times, though, that they've been a second half team. We saw that against Hudson. We've seen that again here tonight. And Rice Lake certainly things to work on before Rhinelander, but especially for the seniors, a game they can feel good about.
Paholke, and now Chris Kluppert, who's checked in for the Warriors. 2:14 to go. Sam Jevney with it. So Jevney, Kluppert, Shepley, Paholke, and I'm missing one. Bjorn Helsted are the 5 for the moment. 3 on its way, short. Rebound is taken by Evan Zock for the Thunderbirds. Zock, spin move, nice move to the lane, and he scores. That gives him 11 tonight, 74-54 with 100 seconds to go.
I always like to share some of kind of those interesting backstories, but Chris Kluppert, actually originally from Minocqua, would have went to Lakeland, so of course there's that dimension for him.
Bjorn Helsted with the basket, 76-54, minute and 25 to play. And a traveling call on Noah Bruckner. In comes Parker Dvorak, out goes Sam Jevney. Ben Vandevoort in for Rice Lake as well, so the entire bench has been cleared now. Kluppert to inbound for Rice Lake, comes in to Bjorn Helsted. And now Dvorak has it. 1:17, 16, and 15 to go, and we've got a jump ball called. Possession arrow stays on this end with the Warriors. 1:15 to play. Warriors leading by 22. And here comes the bench for the Thunderbirds. Kluppert lost a handle on it. Picked up by Jackson Burnett. Burnett ahead of the pack. Foul called, and he's going to head to the free throw line. Foul against 20, Chris Kluppert. That's his first. And Jackson Burnett on the free throw line for 2. He's 3 for 3 from the line tonight, 11 points. And we have 1 minute and 6 seconds to play in this one. So Burnett hits 1, 13, 24, 44, and 45. So Jackson Stella, Braden Mead, Henry Stepik, and Gabe Karch check in for the Thunderbirds.
Well, the one thing I won't miss about play-by-play is when they put in the end of the bench. I know Hudson was really bad about that.
Well,
but,
they were going by platoon too, where they
yeah,
send
I know,
5
that
in
was,
every couple minutes.
So I mean, I guess it was easier and it was harder in its own ways, in that you had to remember all 10 at once. But at the same time, it wasn't. You didn't have to learn them on the spot. But not gonna miss that.
Inbounds play goes to Parker Dvorak with 1:03, 1:02, and 1:01 to go. Warriors leading by 20. Grady Shepley has it. I was going to ask you in the last time out, how important was it, or is it, do you think, that Zach had a shooting game like he had tonight? 10 threes.
Well, I think Rice Lake has always played a lot as a team. Even this year, when they've won some games without necessarily having Orr completely on, they've played good games without having him completely on. So I didn't think it was necessarily imperative that he broke out like he did tonight, but that certainly is a big boon for them going forward into the playoffs.
Free throw from Braden Mead is an air ball. That's a couple of them we've seen on free throws tonight here in the last few minutes. 44 seconds left. The foul, by the way, was on Parker Dvorak for Rice Lake, and he's got the ball. Into the front court, Dvorak has it. And now Kluppert out between the circles. Helsted over on the far side. Helsted had some JV playing time this year. And they throw it back over to Dvorak on the wing with 23, 22, and 21 seconds to go. Zip pass down to the wing. Dvorak moves toward the free throw line. Bounce pass back out to Vandevoort. Student section over on the far side with the thank you seniors chant. Here's a little up and under and good for Ben Vandevoort. And a 3 at the buzzer is going to be short, and this one is in the books. Our final score, 78-56. The Warriors win it by 22 over Lakeland Union.
Yeah, I mean, great job. Well, first of all, I want to point out that we had an excellent showing for fans here tonight. We thought it might be adversely affected. We saw early being the startup time. We saw a very strong student section. This is what you, of course, love to see as fans of Rice Lake. But also, I do think we talked about it a little bit. I referenced it throughout. It was just something that caught my eye, especially in the playoffs, and that was just this experience for Rice Lake. They're a team not necessarily going to have one or two players every night to dominate. They have, we got 11 points from Sam Jevney tonight. They have the seven that they play fairly consistently can all have a very solid night on any given night. And having that bond, being able to play for so long together, now as seniors in what is almost certainly their last game here at the Ole Olson Gym, it was a big triumph for Rice Lake, and they showed again early. There was times in the first half it got too close for any Rice Lake fan. There were times in the second where there were runs by Lakeland, but again, when it mattered, Rice Lake pulled away. It wasn't always the big flashy plays. It wasn't always the coast-to-coast or the ankle-breaking crossover and the step-back jumper. You know, sometimes it was just the rebounds. It was the strong defense, and there was also a lot of threes by Zach Orr. He was a big part of this game, replicating his success in many ways against Osceola. But I also think tonight it was his time. This year, in comparison to last year, Zach Orr didn't show up as much on the scoreboard. He wasn't as much of a force in that aspect. He was still a big part of this team, an important part, I believe, leading this team in assists. But he came out tonight, and there was kind of general consensus. This was his game for the taking, hitting those 10 three-pointers. He was making them from all over, and the Orr zone layer was just lit up tonight, and it bums me out too. That's the last time I'm ever going to get to say that. But anyways, no, a good game for Rice Lake, showing a lot of maturity, a lot of experience tonight, and being able to get this win. I think that second half, I think that last stretch of the second half was incredibly important going into Rhinelander, and I truly believe that gives Rice Lake the belief, the momentum that if they can play not necessarily relatively solidly, they'll have to play well in the first half against Rhinelander, but I think Rice Lake can go to that game with a certain measure of confidence and understand, we shouldn't go in there expecting that we're going to win this game, but we understand we can win this game. We can go to Hodeg country, and we can win regardless of whatever seeding there is. And Rice Lake believes that they can move on here.
And you also think that they were woefully underseeded at 7, right?
Well, yeah, I spent about 15 minutes of my pregame against Hudson talking about that. But no, yeah, I do think that was the case. I think strength of schedule was important. I think early on maybe people kind of understood, well, this is why they're 7 seed, because it's close. But again, I think there was a style difference. I think if Rice Lake is able to win against Rhinelander, there's a good chance they'll face off against either New Richmond or River Falls or get a rematch against Wassa East, who I think plays similar style to a lot of Big River's conference teams, certainly plays with similar tenacity. And I think we're going to be able to see why Rice Lake makes the case that that strength of schedule considered should have been a little bit better. But I think tonight here, again, this is a big win, and I do think that this is a statement and a direct response to that coming in here as a 7th seed.
So our scoring summary for tonight for Lakeland Union, they had 4 players in double figures. Jackson Burnett had 13, Noah Bruckner with 12, Evan Zock had 11, Alton Jackson had 10, and then it was Benny Galler with 6, and Brooks Lenz had 4. The Thunderbirds shot 8 of 11 from the free throw line for the ball game, 28 points in the first half, and they matched that 28 points in the second half. For Rice Lake tonight, it was Grant Paholke with 4. Ben Vandevort had 2, 11 for Sam Jevney, 15 for Evan Strand, 30 for Zach Orr, 10 three-pointers for Zach tonight, 6 for Will Swenson, 4 for Pierce Ostreider, 2 for Bjorn Helsted, and 4 for Will Johnson. The Warriors shot 4 out of 6 from the free throw line tonight, 38 points in the first half, 40 in the second half. And with the win, the Rice Lake Warriors are now 15-9 on the season. and they will move on to play Rhinelander on Friday night in the regional semifinal. And the Thunderbirds of Lakeland Union, they finished their season at 10-15, and they are done for the 2024-25 season.
Yeah, well, I do have a few last thoughts I'd like to get to before I sign off. I've been watching the players so much, I understand kind of the emotions of this, the end of the season. I've thought more of that, but I guess this is the last time for a while I'm going to get to do a broadcast with you. Maybe, I don't know, who knows what happens for football or for winter sports next time. I don't want to put anything too big out there, but I do have a few last thoughts before I sign off for the last time this season. First of all, I will flaunt a little bit my I told you so with the timeout with 10 minutes. I do believe there was a certain run there for Rice Lake and a momentum gain because there is something else I was wrong on. I know I walked through my my bracket for this kind of like the March Madness, pick'ems or whatever. Barring something, a big change here, I'm going to be wrong on my first pick. That would be Antigo and Merrill. Merrill up in that game. I was hoping to get an update, but there's about 9 minutes in, and it's 35-11 for Merrill and the Blue Jays. So that game runs the risk of getting out of hand relatively quickly. Of course, Rice Lake winning this game, but looking at the keys for these two teams, why did this game end the way it did? Well, let's start with Lakeland. What were they just unable to quite perfect down the stretch? I feel like early again they were able to keep Rice Lake out of the post, force them to shoot the threes pleasantly for Rice Lake's home fans. Rice Lake was able to hit the three ball fairly consistently tonight. They got a few open looks. But in the second half, we saw Lakeland Union, their defense in the post, forcing them out on the peripheries. It started to break down a little, and Rice Lake was able to drive. And once that happened, there was no turning back. It was inside shots from Will Swenson. It was Will Johnson tapping them, and Grant Pahalki, Pierce Hostrader getting those offensive rebounds, getting those second chance shots. And yes, it was easy kicks out to Zach Orr. I also feel like Lakeland in the second half, they also kind of moved away from their mid-range shots. They were trying to get those up. They shifted more to the three when they started to fall behind, when Rice Lake would go on even kind of small runs, and I feel like that was something moving away there that didn't necessarily benefit them a whole lot. And I also think Rice Lake really sealed them off on the baseline. That was certainly a big part of this game in the first half. I think that left Lakeland in this game very closely. They were able to operate along the baseline. And Rice Lake just had to, again, we talked about it a little, use that as the sixth defender, and I think Rice Lake was able to do it better, or at least with so much offense, able to force these guys to play catch-up. But I do think they sealed them off. For Rice Lake, of course, the threes were absolutely insane for Zach Orr. I think for pretty much this whole team, they had a very good performance. Again, I'm sure I've said it a few times, maybe more on the radio broadcasts, but Rice Lake this season was a better three-point shooting team than the numbers showed, about, I think, 31 to 33% from three. They were a very streaky three-point shooting team, though, which is kind of how you get numbers like that when they were on, which usually would be, a couple of minutes or if a half if they were lucky. Occasionally, like we saw tonight, a full game where they were able to just dominate and to hit from long range. That certainly helped propel them to the victory. Contesting a lot of shots by Lakeland in the post when that breakdown occurred. They also, I know, early on maybe had a few more contested shots, but able to get those moves, creating that chaos, that commotion down in the paint. And Rice Lake employing that dominant defense as needed. They didn't burn themselves out by running that press, running that aggressive trap the whole game, but they ran it when it was convenient, when they were able to take the lead. But I think the bottom line was, I think this was a huge, an amazing way to go out for Zach Orr here. All the seniors, I think, had very exemplary games tonight. It was a very good game for Rice Lake, a big win. And I think this is certainly one going forward. However deep into the dark forest of the WIA playoffs these guys go, they can take it with them, and they can feel good about a win like this to finish off the season at home.
All right. That's going to do it. 17 games of basketball this season between radio and TV for us this year, between the girls and the boys, and we appreciate you coming along for the ride. Daniel, thank you for your help both on radio and TV. It's been great working with you again this year, and look forward to the next time we're together.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's been great to have been here, to have been able to work the radio. I've appreciated community media having me on so much, and yeah, certainly I look forward to whatever the future might hold.
Very good. And of course, we say thank you very much to Amir and Evo, our crew, for helping us as always. And also, we should pass along big thanks to the staff here at Rice Lake High School: Tim Lipke, Jody Leonard, Mr. Paholke, the principal, Mr. Dross, the district administrator, Coach Orr, Coach Olson on the ladies' side as well. And of course, we wish both teams all the very best going forward. And of course, we wish the seniors nothing but the best in their future as they head on to their next chapters, starting actually in a couple months at graduation, and then next year and years beyond in their future. So. That's going to do it for us. We hope you've enjoyed our basketball broadcast this season. We look forward to seeing you back here. Whatever the next thing holds, probably some soccer or some girls or some girls soccer this spring, and then maybe some baseball and or softball on the radio and TV coming up this spring as well. So for Daniel Broker, our crew, thank you so much for being with us. This is James Weingart. Our final score tonight, once again, 78-56. The Rice Lake Warriors move on in the WIA playoffs. And this has been a presentation of Rice Lake Community Media in association with Rice Lake High School. For more, go to our website, which is ricelaketv.com. We'll see you down the road for more stuff. Till next time, James Weingart with Daniel Broker and our crew. Good night, and thanks for watching.